Thank you guys so much for being here. I am Carlie Kotyza-Witthuhn, and I'm running to be your next state representative in 48B. I'm so grateful that you guys are here tonight because it is such a refreshing opportunity for me to be able to be in a small, intimate atmosphere like this and really be able to have conversations with people one-on-one.
This is Democratic Visions. Here's Tim O'Brien.
Carlie, are you concerned at all that when you show up in St. Paul after you've won the election this fall, that you're going to find yourself as one of the youngest people in the legislature?
I'm not concerned by that.
Is that a good thing?
It would be. I mean, in my opinion.
Carlie Kotyza-Witthuhn. She's the endorsed candidate, House Seat 48B, which is southern Eden Prairie. Carlie's campaign is off to a rocket start. She's been endorsed by Women Winning, Emily's List, AFL-CIO, Planned Parenthood, AFSCME. And you know what? You happen to be running in a district that, by all accounts, is leaning Democrat. As I understand it, Hillary Clinton won that district by some 13 points. So you've got a real chance out there, don't you?
Absolutely. No more waffling on the important things. No more giving our politicians extra credit for just doing the right thing.
What motivates a person like you to say, you know what, I'm going to take on an incumbent and I'm going to win a seat in the legislature? Why did you decide to run, Carlie?
Well, this year, everything feels a little bit different. With what we've got going on out in Washington, D.C., we're seeing involvement like never before. I think that people are fired up, they are ready for true change. And like you said, a lot of my neighbors in Eden Prairie consider themselves to be independent-minded thinkers. People don't tend to vote one-sided ticket or the other. They'll vote for a Democratic presidential candidate.
Splitters.
Absolutely. I'm feeling like this year, Eden Prairie is ready for change. Our current representative has been in office for 10 years, and over the last decade, the community's evolved a lot. So I think people are ready for new type of leadership in Eden Prairie and at the Capitol.
It's not an easy task to run for the legislature. You're going to be door knocking virtually every door in that district. There must be more than just change that you want to accomplish that gets you into the race. So tell me a little bit more as to why you have jumped into this race.
This was a process that started right after the 2016 election. My husband was a little bit frustrated that our congressman had been reelected, and he made an offhand comment about me someday running against him for Congress. And I had never thought about running for political office before.
You'll be too late because the Democrats are going to beat him.
Exactly. And I'm hugely excited for Dean Phillips out in our CD3.
Absolutely.
So, yes, but so he had made an offhand comment about that, and I think I laughed out loud because I had never really thought about running for political office. And 2018, we're seeing such a huge wave of extremely qualified and energetic women running for office all across the country. As a woman, I feel that it's time for gender parity in our government. It's time for equal pay for equal work.
So your husband's offhand remark has turned his life and your life upside down.
Yes.
For the better.
Absolutely. And I remind him that this is all his fault. He's been very, very supportive.
So now it's the day after Election Day. The session's not open yet, but let's assume that the Democrats resume control of the House. So that's going to give you a better choice of committees. What would you like to do over there?
You know, I'm a huge supporter of public education. I have a little bit of background actually working in the schools. I grew up in northeastern Wisconsin, actually in a strong union household. Both my parents were educators. And I went back there for 1 year after I graduated from the University of St. Thomas with my degree in entrepreneurship and Spanish. And I worked as an ELL aide and migrant recruiter in a small school district just south of Sheboygan, where I grew up. I had students in pre-K all the way up to grade 11. Serving and working alongside them in the classrooms allowed me to take from that experience how important and formative those years are for our children. As a millennial, I'm concerned that the policies being enacted today or dismantled today are taking us backward instead of focusing on our future. We need to be investing.
Well, I've been on your website, and I know that you make reference to expanding pre-K education throughout Eden Prairie. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yes, absolutely. So Eden Prairie is one of the school districts actually on the waiting list for the Universal Pre-K program. And if we're able to expand the funding and to make it permanent, to allow parents to send their children to pre-K in order to prepare them for kindergarten, I really think that will be a huge step in moving toward eliminating the achievement gap here in Minnesota.
So that's one of the things that would separate the Republican platform from the Democratic platform. The Democratic platform would promote and foster expansion of pre-K throughout the state.
Yes.
We've talked about the pre-K. Tell me about K-12 education now. Is there something in mind that you think you'd like to see adopted by the state of Minnesota?
Well, as As we go forward, I think it just is so important that we continue Minnesota's long history of supporting our public schools and making
Again,
sure.
that's a constitutional mandate.
Yep,
the
absolutely.
state has to support those public schools.
So it's a duty of our legislature. Making sure that we're keeping responsible class sizes, making sure that our teachers are being compensated accordingly, making sure that we have the highest quality educators in our classrooms. I think that we can take a second look at some of our technical training opportunities. We can take a look at what the opportunities are at the high school level so that we can prepare all of our students to go on to whatever might come next for them. And then maybe go on to an apprenticeship or something along those lines, or maybe just a 2-year program in order to get their associate's degree.
Well, I would think that the voters in Eden Prairie, 48B, would be very receptive to that message, because the school system in Eden Prairie is the crown jewel of the city, no doubt about that.
Absolutely, we're very proud of our school district.
I want to shift subject a little bit now. What programs would you like to see the state of Minnesota adopt relative to curbing gun violence?
At the core, we all want to prevent gun violence, and I think that some of the ways that we've talked about doing that, you tweak the vocabulary, and it really tends to get people riled up. But when you have a conversation, we all want to make sure that our kids are safe in school and that our neighbors are safe living their day-to-day lives. One of the things that I think we can get done here in Minnesota right away, should have actually probably passed last session, would be universal background checks. And what that means, because there are a lot of people who say, like, oh yeah, every time I buy a weapon, I do have to go through a background check. There's a couple loopholes.
Big loopholes.
Big glaring loopholes, I guess. You certainly could say that. If you buy through a store or a public seller, you certainly have to do the background check, the federal background check. And but if you buy through a private seller, they're not legally required.
Like out of a trunk.
Exactly. There are people who sell over the internet to people that they do not know, and don't always take that precaution to run a background screen. Secondarily, if you buy through a store, I believe that there's a 72-hour waiting period, and if so something happens in the computer system, or there's any type of issue that delays it beyond those 72 hours, the store is able to sell it. And also the auction sale.
Gun shows, that sort of thing.
Yes.
So I know that the Republican leadership in the House of Representatives has taken the position that they're not going to push forward any bill that's not approved by the NRA. What a nonsensical way to run a government. Do you expect to get any support from the NRA going forward yourself?
I do not. My husband is a safe and responsible gun owner, and I am a huge supporter of our Second Amendment. I want to make sure that safe and responsible gun owners have access to weapons for sport, especially here in Minnesota. 90% of Minnesotans support universal background checks. We can get that done together. Moving forward with legislation that makes us all safer is not stepping on the toes of somebody's rights, as long as they are going to prove that they're responsible and that they are going to handle their weapons with care.
I understand that one of the measures that came before the legislature was so-called red flag provision, which would block a purchase of a firearm by those who are a danger to themselves or members of society, again opposed by the Republican majority, of which your opponent is certainly a part. What's your position on that kind of red flag legislation?
I think that legislation is only going to save people. If there is somebody who is in a situation where they have threatened to take their own life, or to take action to take somebody else's life, I think that that's absolutely something that we should move to stop.
And you don't mind if I switch to another topic now, because I'm just going to run through
topics
that occur to me, if that's okay with you. Justice Denied, a big first part of a series in the Star and Tribune showing how victims of sexual violence have been ignored, minimized, and treated very callously with ineffective investigations. I know you've got a broader interest in overall equity issues, but do you have any position relative to what's been disclosed so far by the Star and Tribune?
It's certainly disheartening to hear. I think that our survivors of sexual assault and sexual harassment need to feel that they are being supported, and that everything is being done to bring the perpetrators to justice. We need to take a full look at everything that is going to be coming out through this series, and make sure that we are listening to our survivors and making sure that we're taking action.
And again, another switch. Over to Southwest Light Rail. I've been told that Eden Prairie residents are wholeheartedly in favor of Southwest Light Rail. Are you?
I am. I am excited about the opportunity to be able to commute to downtown Minneapolis. I've heard a lot of people at the doors saying, I hate the idea of driving down and finding parking, and especially in the winter and all this sort of stuff. There are a lot of people in Eden Prairie that work downtown. There are a lot of people who live downtown and work out in Eden Prairie.
Or might work out in Eden Prairie.
Exactly. Exactly. And so one of the things that we're hearing from our local business leaders is that they are supportive of the Southwest Light Rail project because they have jobs available, and it's getting harder and harder with the traffic issues to get out there. The bus system that we have is fantastic, but making sure that there is a consistent option for people to commute back and forth for work.
Carlie, here's my final question. It's actually a two-part question. So you're going door to door to door to door to door, and you're seeing probably parts of Eden Prairie you've never seen before. What do you like about Eden Prairie? What do you love about Eden Prairie? And then the second part of the question is, what are people telling you when you're going door to door?
That's a really great question. I've been in Eden Prairie for 7 years. My husband and I bought our home in 2011. We love all the green space. We were definitely attracted by this school district. Truly, the neighbors that we have, and we've really built these community relationships. I think that that's something that is lacking in our digital focused society these days, that people don't always have the opportunity to get to know their neighbors. And it's something that I hear a lot about in Eden Prairie. Like people, a lot of the people that I've talked to, they're like, oh, how long have we been here? Oh, 20, 25 years, I mean, like beyond 40 years. And I think that that's so exciting. Those people have truly seen our community grow and evolve. As I'm knocking the doors, it just is.
Let me jump ahead a little bit. I bet you what they're telling you when you go door to door, and you correct me if I'm wrong, we want to have somebody that can get along with people at the legislature and get something done. Yes,
I am hearing that. People say like, oh, all of the bickering and the arguing and just like the stagnation, it's certainly being modeled for our home state politicians out in Washington, D.C. That's what we're seeing all the time. The negativity is almost enough to make you want to bury your head in the sand. But I understand why people feel that way. Truly working across the aisle, when you see something that has 90% support from our neighbors across the state of Minnesota, like universal background checks, there's no reason that our politicians can't come together and get that done.
Carlie, I see you as a beacon of hope and opportunity. Good luck. Thank you for coming by.
Thank you so much, Tim. It's great to chat. The road to taking back the Minnesota House runs right through this district. Thank you. We're going to be one of the most watched legislative races in the state this year, and I need your help to win in November. As a businesswoman, I'm concerned about the lack of accountability for our politicians to focus on people instead of profits. We need to be investing in our public schools and technical training programs so that our citizens are able to enter the workforce ready to achieve their dreams. We need to be focusing on the threats against our environment and take them seriously and take action now. We need to be able to offer our neighbors equal access to affordable and quality health care, no matter their age, gender, or pre-existing conditions.
Carlie Kotyza-Witthuhn.
Thank you. Wow, I don't know what I was thinking.
Democratic Visions is handcrafted by volunteers from Eden Prairie, Hopkins, Edina, Minnetonka, and Bloomington. Watch us on select cable systems and on our YouTube channel. This is Carol Sundstrom.